Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you, and today I'm going to do a comparison. Now I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I don't have any notes. I haven't taken a bunch of measurements. I'm just going to kind of have a casual discussion about these two knives and talk about what I like and what I don't like, and try at the end to come up with which one I would recommend more given the variables that we've talked about. So what we have here are two knives that are in a similar size, similar price point, and somewhat similar philosophy of use. And also, I got both of these from the same place. I will put links to Massdrop where you can pick up both of these, and maybe you'll want to get both, but yeah, both drops will be listed down below. The Kesmec drop is over, so you'd have to request that drop, but I do think the Crux, you can just go on Massdrop and pick one up any old time. So I've got to say, I love that Massdrop is doing that lately, and that's a huge win. Let's go ahead and get into our comparison though. These two, I think this knife was $110 through Massdrop, and this one I think is about $125 through Massdrop. Both very value friendly, and again, very similar materials. Now this is a Kizer, this is a WE. Both of these have bearings, although this is going to be ceramic bearings. S35VN, titanium frame locks on both of these. Let's flip these guys over so you can take a look at the lock side. We do have a very, very nice milled clip here compared to the bent clip over on the Kesmec. So let's work our way through these knives. We'll talk about the blade, we'll talk about the action, we'll talk about all that kind of stuff. And at the end, I will come to a conclusion about which one I prefer. So let's start off with size, weight, and how these two carry. These are quite a bit different. There's about an ounce different. This is just over 4 ounces. This is just over 5 ounces. When you close the two knives, you can see that there's quite a bit more heft here involved with the Kesmec. You can see overall, let's see if I can try to line those up in a way that allows you to see. Yeah, you can see it's bigger in just about every dimension, although it's not massively bigger, okay? This is 8 inches overall, and this is like 7 3/4. This blade has, this is 3.5 inches of blade, and this is, 3 1/4 or something like that. Maybe it's 3 3/8. Anyway, let's kind of start off with the blade the way that we know. I guess we should make a pronouncement in terms of size, weight, and carry. Okay, I think we have to give it to the Crux. The Crux is very, very comfortable to carry around with you. It's small, it's lightweight, and yet it still has a lot of capability in terms of cutting power and overall performance. So yeah, the Crux is definitely easy to carry. However, I've got to give at least an honorable mention or a qualifying comment to the fact that despite the fact that the Kesmec is almost the same size when closed, all right, now it is an extra ounce, okay, keep that in mind, but when you open this knife up, you're getting quite a bit more blade and quite a bit of, especially a lot more cutting edge itself. Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. And if that's something that matters to you, that may kind of end this discussion right away, but certainly keep that in mind. Now, thinking of the blade, let's go there next. We have here S35VN with a clip point, satin grind, nice and thin behind the edge, fairly thick stock. You can see here, the stock thickness on these two is really, really close. Okay, the Kesmec does carry a little bit more. Hold on, let's see if I can get this to focus. There we go. The Kesmec carries a little bit more material out to the tip, and yet, and here's the big difference between these two blades. Both are S35VN. Both, I think, are really, really attractive. You've got the Kizer over here, you've got the Massdrop over here, so I'm not going to make any comments about bannering on these two. But I will make this comment, and I think this is important here. The blade on the Kesmec is just a little thinner behind the edge, and it carries its thinness a little bit higher. The saber grind on this means more material through the grind of the knife, and the fact that it's a little lower. And so I've got to say, this morning in preparation for this, when I was cutting up apples for my kids' lunches, I used both of these knives, and this one definitely splits apples more than slices them, where this one is a slicier blade. And so for all of those reasons, okay, it's slicier, it carries more material out to the tip while still being a very good cutter. and you get quite a bit more cutting edge. So for all of those reasons, I've got to give the edge on the blade to the Kesmec. Okay, I really do. I know those of you, there's a lot of you out there, and listen, me too. I'm a huge fan of the Crux. Okay, and I think I'm going to have a discussion at the end, so hold on for the end of this video. I'm going to discuss these two designs, okay, because there's an added, you know, sort of extra feature that we do need to bring up as we're working our way through this. All right, let's get on to the action here. So action on the Kesmec is very, very good. The lock bar is easy to access. It's very, very smooth. I have not taken this apart and oiled it or anything like that. I normally do that at least one time in preparation for reviews. This one, I don't know, I may not do it at all because it's just very, very smooth. The Crux over here, again, very nice. It has broken in, and this is one thing, when I first got this, the action was not fantastic. But I, you know, carried it, used it. I did open it up and clean it up. I haven't put any KPL on this, but maybe it'll get that treatment before too long. And I've got to say, the action on this cleaned up quite a bit. Now, the other comparison we ought to make here, the other important point we ought to make here while we're discussing the actions is the flipper tabs. I do like the way the tab is done on the Crux a little bit better. It's just a little more attractive. It's less noticeable. It's maybe a little more refined. So I do like it. Now, the comfort on the two of them is about the same. The detent is just a hair softer on the Kizer, and you know, that's a matter of personal preference. If you're one of those guys who likes a really stiff detent, you might lean toward this one. If you like it a little softer, you might lean toward the Kizer. In terms of, you know, just flippability and, you know, fondling factor, I've got to say that the Kizer is a little more comfortable over time. The lock bar tension is very high on the Crux. Well, it's not quite as high on the Kizer. The one thing the Kizer really lacks in this department, and this is something super, super impressive. Again, I've talked about this before. I love this feature. So the way Ferrum Forge does their relief cuts is it's actually cupped out. So this front portion you're looking at is actually a little wall. All right, so I hope that makes sense to you, but it does add structure. And think about how a steel I-beam is made, right? It's a very similar idea behind that. Over on the Kizer, you just have, you know, your standard lock bar relief cut. So nothing special happening there. So there we go. In terms of action on these two, they're very close. And in terms of feel, I don't really draw a distinction, but I've got to say the Crux just has to come out ahead here for the two big reasons that I brought up. One, I love the way they've done the flipper tab on this. It's just a little smaller and, you know, a little, you know, the jimping is kind of right where my finger wants to hit that. So I really, really like that. The other thing is that relief cut is so well done. The engineering there is fantastic. And I wish every titanium frame lock would adopt that. So I've got to give lockup and deployment to the Crux. Even though in terms of how they actually feel, and if you're just sitting flipping these and you weren't noticing the small details, they would be about the same. Okay, so we've talked about blade, we've talked about lockup and deployment. What about handle? Well, handle construction, I'm really not going to make any points about this because they're both just slab titanium. Okay, no, right, there's not much I can really say where one stands out over the other in terms of construction. There is something I can say about the pocket clip. Okay, both of these pocket clips function very, very well, but I think you've got to give the design to the Crux by a large margin. Like, this is 3D machined titanium. I don't know what I was trying to say there before, but this is 3D machined titanium. It's gorgeous. It ties in with the minimalist design beautifully. And so I've got to give some credit to the Crux for doing a fantastic job on the pocket clip. And that's really the only area where I feel like the Crux, you know, just absolutely blows the Kizer away. or really stands out. And even that, you know, both clips are quite functional. And I know there are some of you watching, and I've, you know, often heard this opinion, that don't like milled titanium clips. So maybe that, again, makes the decision for you right away. Now, on the ergonomic side of this discussion, this is where things get quite a bit different. The Crux is nice, okay, and I like the ability to choke up. It feels good in hand, but it doesn't hold a candle to the Kesmec. When you get the Kesmec in hand, it just feels so natural. It fills your hand really well. It makes you have a very positive sort of grip here. You would feel good doing just about anything with this. And so from an ergonomic standpoint, the Kesmec really does win the day. And so for that reason, I'm going to give the handle construction and ergonomics, those points are going to go to the Kesmec. Now, normally I don't add this last portion, and this is a little bit subjective, so feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below. But I think in terms of just the overall beauty of the design, the cleanness of it, the classicness of it, I've got to give the Crux some extra points here for being really, really attractive. This is one of the nicest looking knives on the market. It's just clean, it's simple, it's a fantastic design. It really, really is. Now, the Kesmec is still an attractive knife. I absolutely like the way this looks. A couple of things, though, I think detract from it. First off, the pivot here with that pinwheel pivot, that drives me crazy, and I've been telling Kizer to drop that for a long time. Not that they have any reason to listen to me, but they actually have given up the pinwheel pivot, and I know that'll be a popular choice. The flame anodization on this handle, I really, really like. So I guess we have to add that as a qualification too. If the Kizer were just sort of plain titanium, maybe I wouldn't, you know, maybe it would be a different discussion, okay? So let's put that out there. Also, there's a bit of milling on here that adds some visual interest and is kind of cool. So I think in the design department, all right, I have to give the design overall, just because I love those clean, simple, beautiful knives. I've got to give the Crux the overall design points. Okay, last thing I have to say here, if you were to say to me, Kevin, you have to pick one of these to keep and use forever, all right, it would not be a hard decision at all. I would take the Kesmec. Now, some of you are going to be like, what are you talking about? But listen, guys, the reason is if it's a knife I'm going to be using all the time, I want the knife that feels better in hand. That's a huge factor for me. The other thing here is I've got 3.5 inches of blade here on the Kesmec, and really it's not taking up any more space in my pocket. Okay, and so for that reason, primarily, so I guess for those two reasons, it feels better in hand and it has more cutting edge and a slightly better performing blade. Those things to me make the Kesmec the one that I would pick if I had to, I don't get to keep both. I can't, my only option is to carry one of these from now on forever. I'm absolutely picking the Kesmec. Now, if you said, hey, which one would you want in your collection? Which one is, a more significant piece in terms of the overall knife industry and that kind of thing? I think those points would have to go to the Crux. All right, so there you go, guys. I'd love to hear your reaction down below to the various points that I have made. What do you think of these two knives? What would you do if you had to pick one? Okay, by the way, go ahead and I will go ahead and click that like button, click the subscribe button, hit the notification button. I know as adults we don't really do the notification thing, but just know that YouTube has really kind of messed it up so that now if you're subscribed to someone, that basically means nothing anymore. And it is a frustration for creators like me. By the way, check the links down below for both Massdrop links for the Crux and the Kesmec. As I say, you'd have to request the Kesmec drop, but at $110 for S35VN and this really nicely done titanium frame lock, I think that's a fantastic deal. There you go, guys. So that's my comparison. Look for a full review on this guy coming up. And I've got to say, since I've got these two knives out, I did go ahead and join the drop for the ProTech Mordax. Wow. I had a hard time coming up with that one. So maybe I'll put the ProTech Mortex drop down below as well. I think it's over, but again, you can request that drop. Thanks for watching. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.